The collapse came without warning. One moment, Elias Ward was descending the rusted ladder into Survey Shaft 7 Delta, clipboard wedged under his arm, headlamp cutting a weak cone through the darkness. The next, the earth opened beneath him like a mouth. Stone screamed, metal shrieked. The ladder tore free from the wall, and he fell 20 meters through choking dust and spinning debris, his body slamming through rotted support beams before the ground rose up to meet him with a sound like a gunshot. The slab caught him across the chest. Elias felt his ribs cave inward, felt something vital punctured deep inside. His legs folded at impossible angles beneath the weight. He tried to scream, but his lungs wouldn't fill. Blood pulled hot in his mouth. Darkness pressed down from all sides. The dust settled. Silence followed, thick and absolute. He was going to die here, alone, crushed, forgotten at the bottom of an abandoned mining shaft on a colony world whose name he could barely remember. His vision dimmed, his thoughts scattered like birds. And then a voice, female, close, not quite human in its cadence. Don't die. The words brushed against his consciousness like fingertips against glass. I'm here. I won't lose you again. Again. Elias tried to focus, tried to turn his head, but his body wouldn't obey. The weight on his chest was enormous. Every shallow breath brought fresh agony. Who was speaking? Cliff's throat where were? Day. The voice came again. Closer now. Intimate. Hold on. Just hold on. Something shifted inside him. Not the stone. Something deeper. A warmth spreading from his core outward, reaching into his shattered ribs, his crushed spine, his useless legs. It felt like hands, like someone was touching him from the inside. His eyes closed. The darkness took him. When consciousness returned, it came in fragments. Bright lights, sterile air, the hum of machines. Elias couldn't move, couldn't speak. His body felt distant, disconnected, like he was floating several inches above it. Voices surrounded him, sharp, urgent, speaking in a language that skittered at the edges of comprehension. The words were alien, but the tone was universal. Panic. Someone was examining him. He felt hands, real hands this time, pressing against his chest, his neck, his skull, clinical efficient. Then they stopped. A sharp intake of breath. A female voice trembling. No, that's not possible. Elias tried to open his eyes, but his eyelids wouldn't respond. He was trapped inside his own body, a passenger in a vehicle with no controls. The hands returned to his chest, more hesitant now. And then he felt it again. Movement, not external, internal. Something beneath his skin, shifting, adjusting. His ribs broken, shattered. Moments ago began to move, not from the medic's touch, but from within, as if invisible fingers were reaching up through muscle and tissue to grip each fractured bone and guide it back into place. Wet clicks echoed through his chest cavity, grinding, saddling. Sound of bone against bone. The medic's hands jerked away. Gods preserve. Footsteps scrambled backward. Equipment clattered to the floor. He's not. The voice broke into stammering fragments of a language Elias didn't know. But the fear was unmistakable. More movement inside him, his spine straightening, vertebrae snapping into alignment with methodical precision. His legs crushed beyond repair began to reform. The bones grinding and resetting with the patience of a craftsman, reassembling a broken sculpture. It didn't hurt. It should have hurt. But all Elias felt was warmth and the sensation of being held. I remember every time you died. When Elias finally opened his eyes, the room was dark. Night had fallen, or clear as throat, whatever passed for night on this world. The medical equipment hummed softly around him. Screens displaying readouts he couldn't interpret. His body felt different, solid, whole. He lifted his hand experimentally, watching his fingers flex in the dim light. No pain. His ribs shattered beyond recognition, now moved smoothly beneath his skin as he breathed. His legs responded when he tried to shift them, muscles contracting without the screaming agony he'd expected. He was healed completely. That wasn't possible. The fall should have killed him. At minimum, he should have been paralyzed. His body a broken shell, requiring months of reconstructive surgery and rehabilitation. Instead, he felt better than he had in years. Elias pushed himself upright, swinging his legs over the edge of the medical bed. The floor was cold beneath his bare feet. He stood carefully, testing his weight, waiting for something to give way. Nothing did. He was fine, better than fine. And then he felt it. A warmth over his heart, spreading outward like a hand pressed flat against his chest. Elias looked down. No hand, No mark, just his own skin, pale and unmarked in the dim light. But the sensation remained, the weight, the pressure, like someone was standing directly in front of him, palm resting over his sternum. "You're awake." The voice froze. It hadn't come from the room. It had come from inside him, resonating through his chest cavity like sound traveling through water. "Don't be afraid. I'll help you stand like before." "Whoo!" His voice cracked, unused. He swallowed and tried again. "Who's there?" Silence. "Then you don't remember." The warmth intensified, and with it came a wave of emotion that wasn't his own. Cliff's throat, sadness, longing, something that felt almost like grief. Elias stumbled backward, his shoulders hitting the wall, his heart hammered against his ribs. "What the underscore is happening? I'm sorry. I should have waited, but you were dying, and I couldn't lose you again." Again. His hands were shaking. "I don't know you. I don't. Your body does." The words hung in the darkness. Elias pressed his palms flat against the wall, trying to anchor himself. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. He was hallucinating. Brain damage from the fall. Oxygen. Deprivation, something. But the warmth remained. The presence. The undeniable sensation of someone else sharing the space inside his skin. He was about to speak again when the door hissed open. The medic stood in the doorway, backlit by the harsh corridor lights. She was tall, taller than any human, with skin the color of pale sapphires, and eyes that reflected the light like mirrors. Intricate markings covered her arms and throat. Raised scars formed into deliberate patterns. She held a dim lamp, in one hand, in the other, a scanner of some kind. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then she stepped inside and let the door seal behind her. "You shouldn't be standing." Her voice was low, controlled, but Elias heard the tremor beneath it. She spoke his language with only a slight accent, each word carefully measured. "I feel fine. You shouldn't." She moved closer, lamp raised, eyes scanning his body with clinical intensity. "Your injuries were catastrophic, unsurvivable. Well, I survived. That's what concerns me." She gestured toward the medical bed. Elias hesitated, then sat. The medic Erishan, according to the name, etched into the silver band around her wrist, set down the lamp and activated her scanner, passing it slowly over his chest. The device chimed, beeped, fell silent. Erishan's expression didn't change, but her hand tightened around the scanner until Elias heard the casing creak. "Explain this." She turned the screen toward him. Elias looked. The image showed his skeletal structure in translucent blue, every bone perfectly aligned, every joint flawlessly positioned. But there was something else. Faint lines of light tracing through the marrow. Patterns that looked almost like script. "I can't." "No," Erishan's voice dropped, to barely above a whisper. "You can't, because these aren't human bones anymore." Elise's stomach dropped. "What?" She moved the scanner to his ribs, highlighting one section. "This configuration, this positioning, it's Ashtel, ancient warrior caste." Her voice was shaking now. Each word coming faster. "But they're gone. All of them. Eradicated 12 years ago. Not all." The voice inside Elias spoke suddenly, clearly. And this time, when it did, Erishan's eyes widened. She'd heard it, too. The scanner slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. "No." She stepped backward, one hand rising to cover her mouth. "No. That's your Erishan." The voice was gentle now, sorrowful. "It's been a long time." The medic's legs gave out. She caught herself against the wall, sliding down until she sat with her knees drawn up, staring at Elias with an expression caught between horror and wonder. "San." The name came out broken. "Is that you?" "Yes." Elias felt the warmth in his chest intensify, felt something shift inside him. Not painful, but strange, as if his internal organs were rearranging themselves to make room for something else. "Who's Sahan?" he demanded, looking between Erishan's stricken face and his own reflection in the dark window. "What the underscore is inside me." Erishan's voice was hollow, soul-bonding. The forbidden ritual. When two warriors are dying, one can preserve themselves inside the other. He was supposed to survive. Sarian's voice carried weight now, filling the room. "I made sure of it." "You died," Erishan whispered. 12 years ago, the raiders, they killed everyone. You found what they left behind, but he didn't die alone." Elias's head was spinning. Memories flickered at the edges of his mind. Not his own, but close, like watching someone else's dream. "I don't understand." "I would remember." Human memory can't hold what happened to you, Arishan said quietly. Your consciousness suppressed the trauma. You've been carrying her for 12 years without knowing until now. Until now, Arishan repeated. The fall should have killed you. Instead, it triggered her fully. She had to act. Had to save you. And now what? The medic's eyes glistened. Now she's awake and she won't go back to sleep. The silence that followed was suffocating. Elias sat on the edge of the medical bed, hands gripping the thin mattress, trying to process what he'd just heard. Inside him, Syrian's presence had gone quiet, but he could still feel her, a weight behind his sternum, patient and watchful. Arishan hadn't moved from her position against the wall. She was staring at him, or through him, her expression unreadable. Finally, Elias spoke. Tell me what happened 12 years ago. Tell me everything. Arishan closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had hardened in her expression. You won't want to hear it. I need to. A long pause. Then there was a settlement. You were working security. Saran was clan huntress. Raiders hit at dawn. Euclid's throat stayed with her. Everyone else ran. You stayed. He defended the children's shelter. Saharan's voice was soft now, distant. They would have taken them first. You held the line together, Arishan continued, for 3 hours, but there were too many. Eventually, I died. You both did. Multiple gunshot wounds, plasma, burns. You bled out in her arms. Orshan's hands were trembling. She was stronger, lasted longer, and in those final moments, she performed the bonding ritual. Used the last of her life force to restart your heart. Elias felt cold. Why? Because I loved you. The words hit like a physical blow. Arishan must have felt it too because she flinched. Soul bonding requires absolute trust, absolute love. Elias finished quietly. Yes. He looked down at his hands. They looked the same, felt the same. But beneath the skin, beneath the flesh, his bones had been rewritten by someone else. Someone who died to save him. Clear his throat, someone he couldn't even remember. Why don't I remember her? Human brains reject the intrusion. Your consciousness built walls around her presence to protect itself. You survived, but she was locked away, dormant until the fall. Until the fall, she confirmed. And now you know. Saren's voice was closer now, intimate. Elias felt that phantom hand against his chest again, warm and solid. What does she want? He asked, not sure if he was speaking to Arishan or to the presence inside him. To protect you, to finish what we started, to be with you as I was meant to be. Arishan stood abruptly. No, absolutely not, San. You can't. I can. I will. She doesn't understand what's happened since, Arishan said, her voice rising. The people who killed them are still hunting for survivors. Why? Because your kind is valuable, Arishan said bitterly. Soul bonded warriors are legends. There are collectors who would pay fortunes for a preserved Ashtal consciousness. She crossed the room and gripped Elias's shoulders. You need to understand, if anyone discovers what you're carrying, you're both dead. Then what do I do? Suppress her? Lock her back down? No. The word came from Elias's mouth, but it wasn't his voice. Deeper, older, layered with harmonics that made Arisian step back. When he spoke again, it was his own voice, but shaking. What just did? I'm sorry, but I can't go back. I won't. You don't have a choice, Arishan said. This is his body, his life. You're the ghost. Silence fell, tense and fragile. Then Elias felt something new, a pulling sensation deep in his core. His vision doubled for a moment, overlaying his view of the room with something else. A memory vivid in sharp red dust smoke, the weight of a child in his arms, screaming, and a woman beside him, tall, blue-skinned, marked with warrior scars, her weapon raised, her eyes blazing with defiance. Saharan, she looked at him and smiled, blood streaking her teeth. We returned together, she said. Promise me. And he'd promised. The memory faded. Elias gasped, his hands gripping the edge of the bed so hard his knuckles went white. I remember making her a promise. Arishan's expression softened. Alias, I told her we'd survive together. That's what she's holding on to, isn't it? That promise, yes. The phantom hand pressed harder against his chest, insistent. You're mine. I'm yours. That's what soul bonding means. Forever. Forever is a long time, Elias said quietly. For a ghost, and a man who Clear's throat didn't ask for this. Arishan moved to speak, but before she could, the lights in the medical bay flickered. Once, twice, red emergency lighting flooded the room, and somewhere in the distance, an alarm began to wail. Etienne's head snapped toward the door. No, not now. Not already. What's happening? She was already moving, grabbing equipment from the wall-mounted cabinets with practiced efficiency. Security breach. They found us, Sarian's voice carried absolute certainty. Found who? Elias demanded. The hunters. The ones who eradicated my clan. They're still looking for survivors. Arishan's face had gone pale. If they tracked you here, how soul-bonded individuals emit a unique energy pattern. Specialized equipment can detect it across star systems. She moved to the door. We need to move now. The door hissed open. The corridor beyond was bathed in red emergency light, casting long shadows across the walls. Arishan moved quickly, gesturing for Elias to follow. The alarm continued to wail. Elias's body felt strange, stronger than it should, more responsive. When he moved, his muscles responded with precision he'd never possessed before. I'm helping, Saharan murmured, guiding your movements. Don't fight it. He didn't have time to argue. They reached an intersection. Arishan paused, checking her scanner. 3 signatures moving through the east wing. Heading toward, she went very still. Toward what? Toward my office where I kept your medical records. Elias felt ice slide down his spine. They're looking for information about me. About her. Arishan turned to face him. If they access those files, they'll know exactly what you are. A distant crash echoed through the corridor. Arishan grabbed Elias's arm. This way. There's an emergency exit through the storage. Level A ran. They reached the stairwell, started down, and that's when Elias heard it. Footsteps below them, coming up. Arishan heard it too. She froze, one hand raised in warning. They pressed themselves against the wall, listening. The footsteps were deliberate, unhurried, confident. A voice echoed up the stairwell. Male speaking in clipped, efficient tones. Biosignature confirmed. 3rd level medical wing. Subject is mobile. Another voice responded. Tiny through a cum device. Tran rounds only. We need the host alive. Ilias's blood ran cold. Arishan pulled him back from the stairwell, toward a maintenance door marked with yellow hazard stripes. She pried it open manually. Inside was darkness and the smell of machinery. In now. They slipped through and Arishan sealed the door behind them, engaging the menu walk. The space beyond was cramped, filled with pipes and conduits. What now? Elias whispered. Now the maintenance door shuddered. Someone was trying to force it open from the other side. Let me help. No, Leela's hissed. Not.